Parks feel harmless during the day. Families everywhere, sunlight, laughter. But once the sun sets, those same paths become miles of darkness. And if someone decides to follow you, there's nowhere to run. This is one of the scariest true park horror stories I've ever heard, and it all started with a man who appeared to be just another stranger on the trail. I used to go running every evening at a park near my apartment, a big wooded public park with narrow paths that twisted deep into the trees. Nothing fancy, just an old nature preserve with a few benches, a small playground, and a lake that glowed orange when the sun reflected off it at the right angle. During the day, it felt almost peaceful. But once dusk hit, the place took on a different kind of atmosphere. Still, I ran there constantly. It was close, safe or so I thought, and always quiet, almost too quiet sometimes. One Thursday in late September, I headed out around 6:30 p.m. The sky was already dimming, and there were only a few people left. A family packing up their picnic, a woman pushing a stroller, and an older guy fishing at the lake. I didn't think anything of it. I started my usual loop, earbuds in, but the volume low enough that I could still hear my surroundings. About 10 minutes into my run, I noticed a man standing near the trail entrance. He was tall, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans, no backpack, no dog, no water bottle, nothing that suggested he was there to exercise or relax. He wasn't looking at his phone or taking pictures like people sometimes did. He was just staring into the trees. I kept running, thinking maybe he was waiting for someone. But the second time I looped around, he wasn't by the entrance anymore. He was standing halfway down the path. Same posture, hands in his pockets, face hidden by the hood's shadow. And he wasn't facing the lake or the woods this time. He was facing me. A small alarm went off in my head. I nodded politely and jogged past, pretending not to notice how his head slowly turned to follow my movement. I picked up my pace. On my third loop, I glanced back. He was gone again. I told myself I was overreacting. Parks have people in them. Not everyone who looks creepy is dangerous. It was getting dark, so maybe he was just leaving. But around the fourth lap, I stopped running completely, because he was now standing on the opposite side of the lake, directly across from me, staring again. He hadn't jogged there, I hadn't heard footsteps or seen him move. Yet somehow he always seemed to appear right where I didn't expect him. I pretended to stretch while watching him carefully. He didn't move a muscle. That was it. I'd had enough. I decided to do one more quick loop near the playground and head home. The sky was darkening fast, and the park lights flickered on one by one. As I circled the trail again, I kept glancing round. He was nowhere. Not on the path, not by the lake, not by the trees. Relief washed over me until I spotted something that made my stomach drop. At the far end of the playground, behind the swings, just barely visible through the dim orange light, I saw a dark figure standing behind the slide. I slowed. It was him. He wasn't watching me this time. He was facing the slide. Standing so close, his hoodie almost touched the plastic. His posture was stiff, unnatural, like he was empty, just standing there, like he was waiting for something to come out of it. A sudden, irrational thought hit me. He's not alone. I felt the urge to run, but forced myself to stay calm. I turned around and started walking briskly toward the parking lot. The gravel crunched loudly under my shoes, echoing far too much in that still, quiet air. I checked my phone, no signal. The park sometimes did that, but right now it felt like a bad omen. When I reached the lot, my heart dropped even further. The man was standing beside my car, not walking, not leaning, just standing there like he'd been waiting. His hood was still up, but I could see his mouth slightly open. It wasn't T, a smile or a frown, more like he was breathing, just a little too hard. I froze about 30 feet from him. Neither of us moved. After what felt like a full minute, he tilted his head slowly, like a dog hearing a strange sound, and took one step toward me. Just one. That broke me. I turned and sprinted back toward the trail, lungs burning, legs shaking. I knew it was stupid to run deeper into the park, but my instincts overrode logic. Behind me, I heard footsteps, fast ones, pounding against the pavement. He was chasing me, and he was fast. The moment I hit the trees again, I could hear him just a few steps behind me. I dodged branches, nearly tripped over a fallen log, and forced myself deeper and deeper into the woods. I knew these trails. He didn't. I had to use that to my advantage. Finally, I dove behind a cluster of bushes off the main path and held my breath. His footsteps grew louder, then stopped. Silence. Then his voice, soft, low, almost playful, floated through the woods. "Come on," he dragged out the words. "I saw you." I stayed absolutely still, my back pressed against the damp earth, the branches scratching at my arms as I crouched deeper into the undergrowth. The man's footsteps moved slowly, methodically, like someone pacing while trying to listen for the slightest movement. Every twig he stepped on cracked like a gunshot. Every leaf rustled like it was inches from my ear. "Come out," he whispered again, dragging the last word like he wanted to savor it. "I know you're close." The way he spoke made it clear he wasn't confused or lost. He wasn't trying to ask for help or explain anything. He was hunting. I pressed my hand over my mouth to muffle my breathing as he walked past my hiding spot, so close that I could see the outline of his boot through the gaps in the branches. I felt the vibration of his steps through the ground. He stopped, right beside me. The woods fell completely silent. He wasn't moving, wasn't breathing loud, wasn't talking. He was listening. Listening for me. Listening for one mistake. After what felt like forever, he kept walking, heading deeper into the trees. I didn't move until I could barely hear his steps anymore. Even then, every instinct told me to stay put. But I knew the longer I stayed in the park, the more dangerous it became. I waited another minute, then started crawling, slowly, painfully through the brush, keeping as low as possible. I knew exactly where I needed to go. The maintenance road on the far west side of the park. It wasn't paved, but it connected to a neighborhood if you followed it long enough. The problem to get there, I had to cross open ground. When I finally reached the edge of the clearing near the lake, I saw him again. He wasn't searching anymore. He was standing on the opposite side of the water, staring straight across at the trees where I was hiding. It was like he knew I'd end up here. I ducked immediately, heart pounding so hard it made my vision blur. The moonlight reflected off the lake just enough to make his silhouette visible, tall, still with his head tilted slightly downward, almost like he was smiling again. I waited until he turned his head away before I made my move. I burst out of the brush, sprinting across the clearing toward the opposite trail. The cold air tore into my lungs as I ran, feet slipping in the damp grass. Behind me, I heard a shout, a terrible, furious sound, and then footsteps crashing through the woods. He'd seen me. He was coming again. I didn't look back. I focused on the narrow dirt path ahead, the one that led toward the maintenance road. Branches whipped across my face, roots tripped me, and twice I almost fell, but adrenaline yanked me forward. The hill ahead was the worst part, steep, uneven, and covered in loose dirt. Halfway up, I slipped, my knee slammed into the ground, sending a shock of pain through my leg. I bit down a scream. Behind me, the footsteps grew louder. He was gaining on me. "Stop," he yelled. His voice was closer now, too close. I scrambled up the hill on all fours, dirt coating my hands, breath ragged. When I reached the top, I forced myself forward, limping now, each step searing with pain. The maintenance road appeared between the trees, a narrow strip of gravel. I ran onto it, stumbling, arms flailing for balance. Streetlights flickered faintly in the distance. Civilization. Safety. Then I heard him hit the top of the hill behind me. His breathing was heavy now. Angry, determined. The sound of his feet pounding the gravel was somehow worse than when he was on the dirt trail. Sharper, faster. I didn't dare look back. I just ran. My vision pulsed. My chest burned. The streetlights ahead seemed to be getting farther, not closer. I could hear him gaining 5 steps behind, then 4. My body wanted to collapse, but fear dragged me onward. When I finally reached the first street light, I turned onto the sidewalk and sprinted blindly toward the closest house. The porch light was on. I ran up the steps and banged on the door with both fists. "Help! Help! Please!" Inside, I heard movement, voices, someone approaching. Behind me, the man's footsteps slowed. I turned just enough to see him standing at the edge of the yard, breathing hard, head tilted like before. He didn't try to come closer. He didn't speak. He just stared at me, that same horrible, open-mouthed expression. The door behind me opened. A man in his 60s looked out, startled. "What's going on?" he asked. I spun toward him, stammering, "Someone's chasing me." He followed me from the park. He's right there. I turned back. The man in the hoodie was gone. No footsteps, no movement. He had disappeared into the dark as silently as he had appeared. The homeowner let me inside and called the police. They searched the area for hours, checked the park, checked the road. Nothing. No prints, no tracks, no signs of anyone. They told me I was probably followed by a homeless person or someone mentally unstable, that maybe I imagined parts of it in the fear and darkness. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And 2 days later, I found something taped to my apartment door. It was a folded piece of paper. Inside, a hand-drawn map of the park with a tiny X marked on one of the trails, the same trail where I hid.